This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Friday, August 15th, 2025. I'm Alex Braun. South Bend and other Indiana communities are positioning themselves to lead the nation's shift to electric vehicles. That's according to speakers Thursday at an event hosted by the Washington D.C. based Electrification Coalition. Midwest campaign organizer David Madden pointed to billions of dollars in manufacturing, infrastructure, and workforce investments helping to transform the state's transportation landscape.
We must maintain the momentum of transportation electrification. Doing so will protect American manufacturing jobs, strengthen our energy independence, and secure domestic supply chain for critical minerals that power this new generation of vehicles.
The coalition reported that Indiana has attracted $14 billion in EV-related investments and $9.4 billion in federal funding, supporting more than 8,400 jobs. A new report from the Indiana Association of Realtors shows new home sales in June totaled just under 8,000. That's up 12% compared to last year. Pending home sales for the month rose at a slower pace, increasing just 4% year over year. Governor Mike Braun this week presented 32 Indiana companies with the governor's Century and Half-Century Business Award. The longest-running business recognized this year was Batesville, a Ripley County manufacturer that has been in operation for 141 years. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise@ibj.com to learn more.
Pressure is mounting on Indiana Republicans over mid-cycle redistricting as the White House invites state lawmakers for a visit. IIB's Marek Mazurek has more.
The move comes after Vice President J.D. Vance visited the Hoosier state on August 7th and met with Governor Mike Braun and legislative leaders to push for new congressional maps in Indiana. President Donald Trump hopes to pick up GOP seats in a handful of states to keep a slim Republican majority in the U.S. House for 2026. Hoosier lawmakers redraw districts after each 10-year census as per the Indiana Constitution. The last time they did that was in 2021, and congressional Republicans have a 7-2 advantage. A move in Indiana would likely focus on the 1st District in Northwest Indiana, which is held by U.S. Rep. Frank Mervan, a Democrat. But it could also include 7th District Rep. Andre Carson, whose district includes much of heavily Democratic Indianapolis. Rank-and-file GOP lawmakers slowly have been coming out against the maneuver this week. National political newsletter Punchbowl News reported this morning that all Indiana GOP state lawmakers have been invited to the White House on August 26th. It's not yet known who will attend. Governor Mike Braun has said legislative leaders need to assess their members before he would call a special session. He also indicated that without a new Texas map that could pick up 5 GOP seats, it might not be worth Indiana stepping into the fight. Indiana Senate and House leaders Roderick Bray and Todd Houston have remained mum on the subject. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Officials from Ivy Tech Community College and Marion Health cut the ribbon Thursday on the newly renovated nursing simulation lab on the college's Marion campus. The Marion Health Nursing Simulation Laboratory is the result of a $410,000 gift from Marion Health to the Ivy Tech Foundation, which supported the renovations and will continue to support equipment purchases, scholarships, and program staffing over 3 years. The investment is also being used to help establish an Associate of Science in Nursing traditional track on the Marion campus, which is designed for students in Grant and Blackford counties without prior healthcare education or licensure. The program is set to begin in the 2025-26 academic year. Ascension St. Vincent Evansville on Thursday marked the completion of a nearly $17 million renovation of the Hospital for Women and Children. Jenny Davis, director of the Women and Children Service Line at Ascension, says the hospital had not seen an update since it opened 25 years ago.
We really had not had an update of the furnishings and, just the surrounding area since 2000. So it was looking very dated. I think a lot of our patients that maybe had delivered with us a couple of years ago and came back for subsequent pregnancies, we're blown away by the difference that, the response we get is that, the care is the same, the nurses are the same, but the surroundings it's more like a spa environment. It's very soothing colors, very soothing textures on the beds, and all the walls and things it's just a much more soothing environment for our patients.
The project, which took 5 years to complete, saw a complete transformation of the hospital's third floor, including improvements to the obstetrics emergency department, labor and delivery rooms, postpartum and mother-baby wings, and all nurse stations. TV news anchor turned entrepreneur Nicole Pence Becker is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Braun for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Off the Record with Indiana's 250 most influential business and community leaders is a podcast that peels back the curtain on Indiana's most respected leaders, one episode at a time. Go beyond the headlines and hear the stories of grit and innovation that shape these leaders. Do you want to know who's driving our state forward? This is a must listen. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.